Welcome back. Last week we missed many of you. And many that I have not wished Happy New Year for those who are celebrating. For us to come together as a community. I was very touched by one particular act by a person. And this person actually is not Chinese. In fact, this person is Indian. And last Sunday she reached out to me and gave me an ang pao. And I was shocked. I said, but you are not Chinese. But we are in Malaysia, we all celebrate the occasion. And I was touched by this kind of harmony, this kind of muhibas, that we are all together. We are all rejoicing together. And this booklet is very important for us as we have took some time to map out the 4-year plan. And a few hundred copies were given out. You don't do that anymore. The next stage of growth is that you have the chance to learn to feed himself with the Word of God. And so the child beginning to feed himself and